Out of the gates and ready to go. It is Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow coming up. Shohei Ohtani couldn't do what Barry Bonds did back in the day. Trouble brewing in Gainesville for Billy Napier's quarterback. And, well, fans, they're taking hate for Pat McAfee a little bit too far. That's all straight ahead. While you're here, we hope you'll like, comment, and subscribe at the OutKick YouTube page. I would love to go back.
Love
to my era.
Yes.
Of true diehard fandom of the Major League Baseball season. The steroid era. Bring it. I would love it.
Glorious time.
But
we need more Brady Andersons in the world. We just need more breakout seasons like that.
Or just,
we're clearly fueled by roids.
I just need a McGuire or a Sosa or Palmeiro.
Yeah.
Anyone.
You want Hearts on Fire from Rocky IV playing and a syringe going right to the side of the ass while the song's playing?
Yes. That'd be in between innings.
Yeah. Eastbound and Down in the montage of him doing roids. You want more of that in baseball?
I need more Kenny Powers.
Yes.
There was something poetic about Barry Bonds swinging the bat, and it felt like that wiffle ball bat that I had wrapped in duct tape, to really just get that extra oomph, to get it to go over the fence. He had that. The short swing, the roided to the gills ability. There's just something different about Bonds in the steroid era that Bonds is discussing. He's on the All the Smoke podcast here and saying that, well, it was just, he's critiquing Shohei Ohtani's stardom compared to eras of the past.
Thoughts on Ohtani? I mean, I think he came in has taken MLB by storm and then signed a monster contract. Thoughts on just his ability to hit the ball the way he does and also pitch and just the versatility of his game.
The pitching and hitting has been outstanding for what he's done in base running and stuff like that. He's a complete player. I mean, there's no doubt about the type of player he is and what he's accomplished in his career. The game has just changed.
Okay.
I mean, the game is way different than when I played. The same way Michael talks about it or anyone else. Ohtani is not going to hit 2 home runs without seeing one go right here. In my generation, I don't care what he does. He's not going to steal 2 bases without somebody decapitating his kneecap and slow him down, because it's a different game back then. Today's game, they take batting practice all day. They take batting practice at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up. These guys hit more than I've ever seen in my entire lifetime that we didn't do. And they should be better than us as hitting wise, because they can hit a home run, flip their bat up in the air, run around, get a taco, come back down, have a limo, drive them around, all these antics that we weren't allowed to do. If I did anything like that, there's no way I'm going to see a star.
Wow.
I'll see the hospital, but I ain't going to see baseball that day.
That's the unwritten stuff, though.
And so as a hitter, we had to hit in a way to where if I hit a home run, I know what's coming in next at bat or possibility. So my thing is I have to be a little more defensive and be more of a contact hitter to get out of a problem than they can just do and hit. And sometimes I think it could be a disadvantage. But Ohtani, dude, boy can play. There's no question about who he is. My opinion, I just hope he just stays at the hitting category, because his hitting ability is off the chart. Pitching, I just think might tire him out. I think he should come out of the bullpen here and there, like he has these, because he's DHing, he can come out of the bullpen and throw an inning or 2 here, and just because he's so good as a reliever too. Like he could be one of the dominant relievers and dominant starters. I think as a starter, man, I think it might get wear and tear a little bit and tire him out. Why fix something that isn't broken? Because
that's definitely not
that's
broke.
like, I'd be like, no. I ain't fixing nothing, ain't broke. This is good. I'm good. Peace. This is great. But I think coming out of the bullpen, he could really dominate.
Barry Bonds there on All the Smoke.
Why did Barry start whispering in the end? He's coming out of the
he gets that. He has a very distinctive voice to me.
He had a very powerful delivery. Then he got to the end, and it was like a whisper.
Yeah.
So come out of the bullpen there, be one of the dominant relievers, and then yeah.
Or suspenseful.
Everyone else started whispering too. I don't. They were all getting real close to each other.
I don't disagree. Gather in. I don't disagree with much of what he's saying there. There is just an element of back in my day. I did it to start the show. Like back whenever I was a true fan, this is what I wanted. I don't recall. I mean, Barry Bonds would get into fights, but I don't see a less number of like bench clearing brouhahas happening. Do you?
No,
I don't see a big difference between that era and now in terms of just let's grab a jersey and hang on for dear life. Now, you do have like the Zimmer and Pedro, and those are iconic. We don't see that as much, but we also don't see
we don't see 70-year-old coaches getting in fights with athletes in their prime as much.
Do you recall people throwing at Bonds a lot?
No. I mean, yes, because there are
two things. Just put him on base.
Two things here with Bonds. Okay, this is what I remember about Barry Bonds. Yes, if you gave up a home run or two, you were probably going to get pitched inside or pitched differently. I don't recall the era where because you hit a home run, you were going to get ear-holed the next time up automatically, or because you stole 2 bases, someone's going to try to break your patellar tendon in half because you're stealing a third time. So I don't really know where he's going with all that.
The dirty slides
But if you remember,
happen.
Bonds was the first guy to have that bionic elbow brace that pissed pitchers off. They wanted to hit him. And they said, there's no fear pitching him in because he just leans that huge arm contraption
knock the ball away.
It's 4 inches from his arm, so he might get hit and get a free base because of it. I remember John Smoltz talking about that and other pitchers that hated Bonds for introducing that huge elbow pad into the game. And Barry Bonds would argue, well, it's a necessity because I get thrown inside so much and I'm trying to have a career and trying to stay healthy and continue playing. Hutton, I'm here for the generational war wherever it takes place. It's fun to follow. The NBA is the classic example right now. It can get old and tired, but the old guys of the NBA and the way they're waging war on players of today, or even guys of different generations, Charles Barkley going after Kendrick Perkins the way he did last night was incredible to follow. They don't like each other and they don't respect their forms of the game. I don't really get it here with Bonds. And now he's saying all the right things about Ohtani. There's nothing bad to say about the guy. He's incredible.
No, right.
And he's saying that like he could hit in any era. He's great. But, I do this. I will agree with him that if you flip the bat and make a big show of it, in Bonds' era, you were highly more likely to get hit the next time up. And you may not be as likely to get hit now. But I'll pose the question to you, Hutton. If you're throwing at someone because they're playing so well against you, and they're not doing anything to show you up other than playing the game and playing it well, is that a good thing? I don't think it is.
No, it's not.
And that's what Bonds is saying. I hit 2 home runs and I get ear-holed. I got to worry about going to the hospital if I dare to hit 2 home runs against the team. And I'm thinking, I'm glad that's out of the game if that was seriously the situation.
But see, I think that's the exaggeration in the example I'm using of back in my day, we walked to school uphill both ways.
Right.
Like that's what he said. He's pitched inside, but he wasn't ear-holed. There's a level up there that's just kind of exaggerating the point of it's. Here's the other difference. Hitters aren't facing the same pitcher more than twice in a game because they rotate these guys so much. 6 innings.
Some of that, yeah.
Schilling was all about that whenever he joined the show. It was like, 9 innings is supposed to be the expectation. Now it's the celebration, right?
Well, now it's a once every 2 month occurrence.
Right, when it happens, you celebrate.
Someone going all 9, yeah.
It's a highlight reel. So, I mean, I view it from that angle, too. I'm with you on, like, the era versus era because it allows us to learn the individual personality of player to player. We know a lot of the personalities in the National Football League. In MLB, we're beginning to know more. In the NBA, we know enough to not like it because everyone seems to be just the same guy. You know what I mean? But in MLB, they got away from that and how they produce new stars, how you sell jerseys, how you market the league. We said if Taylor Swift sat in the crowd because she was dating a baseball star instead of Kelsey, would MLB know how to actually capitalize on that? This is how you capitalize on it. You get your former stars to reminisce about the good old days, and you compare it to now, and you have the top star in the world, in Ohtani, as the example against Bonds, the king, the home run king, and you serve it up. I like it. It's good to hear from Bonds. I'd like to hear from other guys like this.
Yeah, I loved hearing from Bonds, and just in that clip, hearing him talk about the game and talk about the current state of the game was a lot of fun. I do think And I am now one of the old guys when I look back and reminisce on the game, and I certainly side with the Michael Jordan era over anything of today and over LeBron James and everyone else. I'm not all that unusual to a lot of people by having that opinion, but I am here for the cultural generational war that takes place in sports. And I think the positive part of this is it does teach history to a lot of people. It teaches an appreciation for different eras. I'm sure if Rogers Hornsby was alive right now, he would probably talk about how Barry Bonds' era was a bunch of wusses when they played the game, right? I mean, that's generational. And the way the game was played in the early 1900s was different from the 30s and 40s, was different from the 60s and 70s, different from the 90s, different from now. But the one thing that I don't want to miss in what Bonds was saying is that game recognizes game. And talent recognizes talent. And Barry Bonds is not saying that Shohei Ohtani is anything but an amazing player and an incredible talent, incredible hitter, incredible overall player, which he's right when he says that.
Now, I don't
want to lose sight of that.
Let me also add in, let's go a bit further with the star power of the eras. Now that we're kind of going down that path, ESPN wasn't offering $200 million less in rights fees per year to Major League Baseball during that era.
No.
You had the personalities to market. You could go from the East Coast game, Wednesday night doubleheader, go out west. You had stars on each team. And by and large, those players played well in the game. They weren't going 0 for 4. Griffey, Bonds, you could stay on the East Coast and you could see your stars still. If McGuire's at bat, chances are you're going to miss a homer if you go pop popcorn or something while he's coming up to the plate. Sosa the same way. Now, I think that's really what, there's nothing they can do about it. But in the NBA, by and large, Chad, the true superstars of the league are going to get theirs if you tune in and watch them. And now you could go 0 for 4, and the approach to the game is strikeout, ground out, or homer, right? Which is based on launch angle and everything. I think they're getting better at that. The rules changes really helped. But if they can get that back, where if I tune in and Bryce Harper's going to, ball out while I'm watching, or if you go out west and you've got Ohtani, who, let me say, Ohtani normally shows out. He's going to play. He's either on the mound or he's at bat and he's doing something. That is also crucial for MLB, is they have their guys who they build up, produce whenever you tune in. That's got to happen. And I think they're getting back to that. I really do.
I do too. I think back to the 90s and just what it was like as a sports fan. And granted, I was obviously much younger then and growing up and all of that. But do you remember when baseball season was an attraction in and of itself and was a huge deal? I don't get that sense anymore.
No.
Like when football season gets here and we get closer to Labor Day weekend, it's like this internal sense of all is about to be right with the world again. And I'm going to have 4 solid months of enjoyment starting on Thursday of every weekend. And I'm going to immerse myself in the game of football in college and the NFL. And when I was growing up, you felt the same way about baseball.
About opening day.
Hey, it is the 1st of April.
Opening day.
The weather's getting nice, and I'm going to sit and watch the Atlanta Braves as much as I can. Or I'm going to watch the Chicago Cubs and Harry Carey on WGN. Baseball season is here. Let's not worry about football season right now because we got a full baseball season to get through, and we're pumped up about that. I don't ever get that vibe about baseball anymore. It's so individualized with each market and with each team and with that team's expectations that the whole MLB season as a reason to celebrate isn't what it was. And I think that deal we're talking about with ESPN falling through and them offering so much less
regional
has a lot. It says a lot about that. It's just not the same.
But in the market itself,
it's a big deal.
The Astros are going to pull more eyeballs than the Rockets on TV. The Braves are going to pull more. You can just go to individual markets and see.
Than the Hawks.
Yeah, but you can either go to the major markets, like Red Sox or Celtics, Red Sox. You're going to get more attention in the local market. But nationally, regionally, if you're not in a Major League Baseball market, it's not the same. It used to be NCAA tournament and opening day. And now it's NCAA tournament Masters. To me, I like what I think about in the spring. And is that part because they took it over and opening day is really not opening day and all that? I don't know. But get it back to what it was. You need the star power to just go through the lineup of games and know an individual on every single team. If they get that, then you can grip the outside of your local market.
Yeah.
And you've got more attention, and you don't take the pay cut that ESPN's offering.
What we heard there from Bonds, though, is so typical of NBA coverage and the media that covers the NBA, that the guys who played in the 90s or even early 2000s, I think about Paul Pierce also is critical of the game today. Those guys are quick to be very judgmental about players today and the game today, and they're very hyper-competitive about it. We don't see that as much from baseball. So while I don't agree with Barry Bonds in much of what he's saying, I do think this is a little bit refreshing because for the most part, when you hear former baseball players on television that are covering games, they're very complimentary of the players today. They're almost like self-deprecating about themselves. Well, I couldn't hit a 101-mile-per-hour fastball. Or, man, everybody now throws over 95, and there were maybe one or two guys in your team who could throw 95 when I was playing. Like, they pump up the game today and support it and support the players. NBA guys in the past just tear it down for the most part.
Well, they're too apologetic.
Of the game today, I'm saying.
Too apologetic in many cases of the situational. Just the 6 innings here or the 1 inning, one at bat. Too apologetic of just the situational game that it's become.
The only thing that older players, former players will talk about, and I've heard John Smoltz talk about it, Chipper Jones talks about it, is there's not enough thought into hitting.
Right.
That it's just too much, like you said. It's either
analytics.
I'm going to hit a home run, or there's not
launch angle.
There's not enough thinking through. Hey, here's how this guy likes to pitch me. Here's where I need to take the ball. Like when they see something that really, oh man, that was, a breaking ball that was going away, and he stepped into it, and he didn't try to pull it and hit a home run. He dropped it into right field. What a great piece of hitting! I mean, you could hear those guys getting really excited that played back in the day when they see a piece of hitting like that today, which there are a lot of great hitters in the game. And I'm not trying to say this doesn't happen a lot. It does, but analytics show more of, it's kind of like the three-point shot in the NBA, right? Shoot more of them, not less. Try to hit more home runs, and don't try to hit a double or get a single. Just go for broke, either strikeout or home run. That's what analytics tells a lot of teams.
Briefly, do you agree that we have less personalities as managers too?
No doubt.
That's another quality that's missing, is the ability to, here comes Bobby Cox again.
Yeah.
Here's Tony La Russa. Here,
Joe Torre even, who didn't have a huge personality, but everybody knew and respected.
Yeah, like that's another part of it that's missing, is just the skipper who's not going to take any crap, and we even knew more umpire names too.
Jim Leland, who just smoking heaters in the dugout.
Yeah. For
both the Pirates and the Marlins back in the day.
No doubt.
As an older guy.
So what's wrong with DJ Lagway? Florida's quarterback. He's in the mix. If you look at the Vegas odds for Heisman hopefuls, his name's listed. He's certainly...
Florida's a top 10 team.
Hey.
They're a top 10 darling, baby, coming into this offseason.
He's leading the charge of what is a very talented team for the Florida Gators with Billy Napier.
Billy Napier went from hot seat to possible SEC champion coach in record time.
Due in large part to putting this guy in.
Right. 5-star, number one quarterback in the country.
Maybe not his first appearance. Maybe it was the Tennessee game.
He played, I think, a little bit before that, had to step in. But that was where he took the job full-time. That's where the starter from Wisconsin that transferred in got hurt, and he was in full-time.
Here's Mark Long, 1010XL, on what's wrong with DJ Lagway right now.
There's something going on over there. They said he's going to be limited in throwing activities. He never had a shoulder injury last year.
Right.
He had a hamstring injury. Well, the hamstring was in November. Man, it's March.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about the hamstring was 4 months ago. And now, but why would the hamstring affect the shoulder? And I asked Billy specifically, did he have any off-season surgery? No.
What?
I'm not sure I'm buying it, Matt. Something is fishy. And then here's the thing. If you dig into the quote, he said, we've consulted with quite a few experts here at UF Health from a national perspective, and as we do with a lot of our players in terms of second opinions. In general, so it's like now he's talking about
second opinion.
They've had experts look at DJ Lagway, and they've had second opinions about DJ Lagway, and now he's not throwing. Something's
not right.
I don't know what it is. telling me he didn't have surgery? I don't know.
Or maybe he needs surgery. Maybe he needs surgery to try to get a second opinion.
The guy played on December 20th and didn't play his best game, but he played.
Right.
And all of a sudden, March 6th, he's not throwing, and he's got a lower body and a shoulder, and there's something we're missing there.
Yes, there's something going on. Chad, last night you put in the text chain, what about the second opinion?
Yeah, you don't ask for a second opinion unless you really don't like the first opinion. That's true with anyone's personal health or an athlete of any kind. If I get a satisfactory conclusion from my first doctor about what something is, and it's something I can manage and handle with a little bit of medication or physical therapy or a minor procedure, then I usually take that first opinion. You don't go to the second one unless it's really bad. So if I'm a Florida fan right now, I am sounding alarm bells that something is very off. You start to hear a lot about, and I can't think of a specific example right now, but quarterbacks, pitchers, this happens where they have like numbness, tingling in their arm.
Like a stinger. Sometimes
it can be like a sign of you need Tommy John surgery for a pitcher, as an example, but like it's hard to grip the ball.
You
can't feel it the same way. There's something that's going from your shoulder,
which affects your release,
all the way down to your fingertips, and it's a nerve issue. That's where my antennas went up immediately. Is it some sort of crazy nerve situation?
So when they say shoulder, it could be something else.
They can't get a handle on, that he's done something to it, or he's got some discomfort, and they're having a hard time locating what it is, and it's affecting his ability to throw. I don't know.
Here's an example.
But this is a bad sign.
He's working on drops here, but he's not actually throwing the football. When other quarterbacks, of course, are. You can see
he's not even putting his
Harrison
arm.
Bailey and others are letting it loose. So
he's not even putting his hand above his shoulder. It's like he's doing like a little shovel pass underneath every time he drops back.
So again, if you're covering the team, it's obvious that something's up, and I want to see him play. I know SEC fans don't want to face Florida with Lagway at quarterback, but this is what makes the SEC the SEC. I want to see the kid play. He's talented, and what a storyline for everything that Florida was last year going into this year.
Well, and that's
the abrupt 180.
Yeah,
turn.
and it's been a rough. I mean, going back to 2021, where it fell apart with Dan Mullen. It's been a rough go for Florida. By their lofty standards, it's been an incredibly rough go. They had a great close to last season. If you're a Gator fan, I mean, no one in the SEC is feeling sorry for you.
No.
You won multiple national titles. But if you're a Gator fan right now, for the first time in a while, you're sitting there thinking, are we cursed? Because here we go. We got everything going in the right direction. We got a great recruiting class coming in. We got a 5-star quarterback who looks to be great. And now he's not throwing in spring, and everyone's being very shady and mysterious about it and not saying what it is.
Yeah, because he went from bowl to this. And
there's something very off in Gainesville when it comes to this story.
Let's also go
and
layer
maybe he comes out in the fall and he's totally fine, but I'd be very nervous if I was a Florida fan. Yeah. Very, very nervous.
Same. Let's also go layer deeper. Billy Napier probably is fired if not for him, because everyone's like, he's going to transfer out. Right, and we know what we have coming in this season. How do we keep this group together? And Lagway was attached to Napier, so without Lagway, I mean, again, like it's a fascinating story. I think everything works out. I mean, he's still in the practice field there, but they have to figure this out because Chad, I think you're right. Something with the nerve, almost players get a stinger sometimes, like linebackers going in for a hit or a running back, and they'll call it a shoulder or a neck, but it's really like the in between the shoulder and the neck, like the nerve endings.
Yeah,
you just go numb all the way down to your hand.
I immediately even thought about like Peyton Manning and his neck issue that went all the way down his right arm, where he couldn't grip the ball and couldn't throw it, had no strength in his shoulder. Right, it started in his shoulder. We had no strength, that he couldn't grip the ball, and it turns out it was a neck issue that he had and had to have the surgery to correct it.
But I've talked to a player it's not there when you are initially throwing it or trying to a wide receiver trying to catch, but it's the way, like you hit it at a certain angle and then you get that tingle and then it won't go away.
Right.
So like if there's an angle of throwing the football and then you release it and just kind of you mess with it just a tad and then it's still there, that's where it's unpredictable. If you got to figure out how to rest it and get it better.
And I agree with you too. Graham Mertz going down in Knoxville, and then DJ Lagway playing great when he came in. took Tennessee to overtime but lost. But then I don't think they lost the rest of the way. I think that was the last game they lost all year was in Knoxville, and then that was mid-October, and I believe they won out. Or no, they lost at Texas maybe after that, or maybe it was the week before. But other than that, they won. Yeah, they ended up going 7-5. They won an 8th game in a bowl game. A really good close to the season that gives Gator fans optimism for the first time in a long time for Florida. First time since going into the 2021 season with Dan Mullen that they've had optimism, and now your quarterback can't throw.
How I know you said where they're ranked. Where would they be if we're just ranking SEC right now? Ahead of Bama?
They're right around number 10. So, 10th in the nation is good for like third or fourth in the SEC.
Maybe 5th?
Yeah, Georgia and Texas definitely ahead of them.
Where's LSU?
South Carolina's hanging around there with a lot of expectation.
Just based on what LSU has coming back. Tennessee, for instance.
Tennessee's going to be right around 12, 13, 15, right about the same spot they were a year ago.
This guy's the difference, is what I'm saying. Like, he's the true difference maker in which quarterback would you bet on taking a huge turn towards greatness? It's the flashes that we saw. It's him.
And I've pulled the way too early top 25 rankings from ESPN.
Let's hear it.
Texas, number 2, just SEC teams. Georgia, number 5, obviously ahead of Florida. LSU, number 8.
Okay. I think people will be surprised, but you got Nussmeier coming back.
Yeah. Now, this way too early ranking has Florida further down at 18. So they actually have South Carolina at 9. They've got Alabama at 12. No, sorry, South Carolina at 10. BYU at number 9 on this list. Let me see if they even have Tennessee in the top 25. Tennessee's 19. Florida 18, Tennessee 19 in this way too early ranking. This is right after the season ended.
Now think about the quarterback comparison there for both Florida and Tennessee.
I keep forgetting about? I just keep forgetting they're even in the SEC. Texas A&M,
I know.
Who's 22nd. They're going to have a ton of talent returning, but just sort of an afterthought right now.
How about
Sorry, Billy Lucci. I just didn't think about them.
Sorry, Billy.
Our joint apologies to Billy Lucci. I just didn't even think about them.
Yeah, keep naming all the programs, Chad. It'll be like the SEC basketball tournament coming in next week.
Well, if you just asked me to name relevant SEC football programs, like you're playing a cocktail game with your buddies, and it's like, go, name as many as you can in as fast a time. Like, it's going to get to 7 or 8 probably before I get to A&M.
Well, and South Carolina.
Right. I'm talking current teams I think about first.
Yes.
And they would be down the list. But not too far down the list.
Not far. We'll talk more with Trey Wallace coming up in a moment, in about 10 minutes or so here on Hot Mic. Pat McAfee recently revealed that, this is through Instagram, that someone has been targeting him and sending death threats to him and his 1-year-old daughter following the Elimination Chamber controversy where he's, talking trash about Canada. Man, this is where, just go off the rails too far with anything. This, in an effort to be entertaining, which is, by the way, is what I would say the hockey tournament turned into, was entertainment. You always have that one or two that just take it way too literal, and the crazies come out.
Arrest him.
I hope.
I mean, it's not hard to find out who it is. I'm sure they're going by an alias of some sort, but it's not hard to find who that Instagram account or whatever it was they're messaging from, who it's attached to, and go question the person that did it. Let's scare them at the very least into not doing something like that again. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Did you see the end of the Good Nights on SNL on Saturday with Shane Gillis? But Mike Myers did something in the open where he played Elon Musk. Well, at the end of the night, they do the goodbyes where everybody's on stage, and Shane Gillis thanks the cast and thanks Mike Myers for coming back and doing that. Mike Myers has, and I feel like he just went on the show just to do this, to make a statement about Canada. He had a shirt that said, "Canada is not for sale," on it and was pointing to it the whole time. Canada is not for sale. Canada is not for sale. And the whole time I'm just thinking, no one ever said anything about buying it. We're not going to give you money for your country. We're going to take it. Yeah. Sorry. I'm joking, Mike Myers, and every Canadian that watches this show. You're not going to get invaded anytime soon, but the whole time I'm laughing to myself saying, who said anything about buying it? We know it's not for sale. We're talking about it for take. That's what Trump is joking about.
So the broadcast table, this is what McAfee said. It kind
Kidding, of course. We're not invading Canada.
Kind of sucks that it's in the terrible country of Canada that booed our national anthem to start this entire thing. In regards to Canadian fans booing during the Peacock broadcast of the anthem. So prior to John Cena turning heel.
Earlier this week I talked about it, but I love that McAfee just came out and said, my first response to someone booing the anthem is F you. And that's my sense. I'm very proud to be from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the United States of America, and I'm proud to be an American, and I support our troops. And you boo the national anthem, I take that as an insult, so I'm going to respond in kind. And that's what he did during the wrestling event. It's also a WWE event. It's part of the whole thing, right? Is you peacock. No pun intended with it being on Peacock, but you peacock, you strut, you puff out, you bow up. Like, that's the whole thing in wrestling. And the fact people can't handle it. If you want to boo someone's anthem and then get pissy about them not taking it well and calling your country terrible, then it's you that probably needs to grow a pair.
Well, some of the messages,
in that sense.
Quote, one of the messages sent to him said, I hope that little brat effing dies. And another one said, if you want to crap on free speech, you better be ready to die. That was another one.
And that's you cannot just look at that and say, oh, it's just somebody that's talking trash. That person sounds unhinged that sends that. And they need to be investigated.
Said, I'm very proud and thankful that I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the United States of America. Canadians have a lot of passion for their country, and I understand it. You booed our country, and I said you're terrible. McAfee wrote in a post.
Does Canada even have an FBI or their version of it?
They have the Mounties.
So I'm saying, is a Mountie going to knock on his door? Full dress red?
They're
in their full dress reds.
The gallop
knocking
up.
on the door. They're gonna stride up on a reindeer to his house and knock on his door.
Got it. A moose.
And sending some threatening messages, eh? That's the first question.
What's going on, eh?
Why are you sending that about the 1-year-old, eh?
Stephen A. Smith with a new $100 million contract. What took so long with this? The number ends up being exactly what we were talking about.
I mean, God bless Stephen A. Smith that he can get everybody talking about his $100 million contract for this long.
Yeah.
I seriously assume the guy signed it 2 years ago.
I know. But
we've been talking about it as a sports media for like a decade, it feels like. How much money will Stephen A. make? He's been talking about it. He goes on with Clay Travis and talks about it. They talk about how much money they're going to make. He talks about how much. I thought he already got the $100 million.
Yeah, I mean, since then, he's got his YouTube channel as his own, like McAfee does. Yeah, I mean, $20 million to host the morning TV show and more. I mean, he's going to be doing a lot of other events. But Bobby Rack pointed out, like, this will be the last of its kind for ESPN. When you start looking around at the other personalities they're building up, it takes more of the grassroots approach now to do it the way that, Bussin' with the Boys or the way McAfee built up his brand. That's how you'll get the money and then branch off to the four-letter network. You won't be doing that within the four-letter network.
Well, like Bussin' with the Boys is a great example, and we know those guys.
Yeah.
And good dudes, funny dudes.
Yeah.
Started it on their own.
Yep.
It got big enough where they had kind of maxed out of what they were going to do on their own, went to Barstool, became huge at Barstool, and then realized we can capitalize so much more by going elsewhere, right? So they've really played it well from a business perspective. Now they're with FanDuel. I think they left Barstool for FanDuel, so a more lucrative deal for them. I mean, Stephen A. Smith is going to do well wherever he was, whether it be independent or at ESPN.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, of the people who need to get paid at ESPN or that you would say is worthy of a huge contract, he's up there. Whether you like his opinions or not, he's top of the list. And I know Bobby Barack wrote about it. I recommend everyone goes to OutKick.com, reads the Barack story on it. I don't have much else to offer than what he offered other than to say, man, oh man, have we in the media done Stephen A. Smith a huge service by talking about how much money he should make. Even if you said he doesn't deserve it.
We're his Pedro Gomez.
The fact that we've talked about it so much as a media, and I'm pointing the finger at us on our show, at OutKick, and at every other media outlet. Everybody's guilty of it. Like, my God. Like, I mean, I've worked in media a long time.
He's deserving of it.
I would love for anybody to talk about, this is what media should do for each other. Like, hey, let's start talking about this guy that we like in media, and if everybody talks about it enough, maybe he'll get a giant raise.
Yeah, we'll give him $20 million a year.
Right. That's what Stephen A. Smith, it was this word of mouth factory that happened of talking heads that I am thrilled the story's over.
And
that we know how much he makes now, and now the decade of talking about how much he's going to make is over.
We know how much he makes, and now we'll see him everywhere throughout all their programming.
That is one thing that I will give Stephen A. Smith credit on.
He wants to
and
do
it's a lot of dudes like this that I don't think really have anything else in their lives. Mm-hmm. They will do anything, anywhere, anytime, unabashedly, and wants to do it, and wants to work hard at it, wants to be good at it. That's why, to me, he's probably worth it for ESPN because he's not going to say no to anything. He's going to show up at the Nathan's hot dog eating contest on 4th of July.
He'll wear the hat?
Yeah. He's going to bash Joey Chestnut live on air. He'll do it. He'll go wherever you need.
Well, and he'll do a good job. I mean, he'll be prepared, and he'll give you the honest, authentic opinion. That's what you want. He'll give you Stephen A. It's not the manufactured version. He'll give you exactly what he's thinking, and there's nothing ESPN can do to tamp that down. That's what I like about it.
Well, now Tim Brando will come on and talk about how nobody watches those shows when you really look into the ratings, and he's not wrong. The ratings are not huge for those shows. It's just a lot of it's on silent at sports bars during happy hour, or it's on in the airport and it's silent
It's clipped on social, and then you watch it through the clips that other media outlets play and react to.
But
his
what I would
show
say
programs other sports shows.
Right. His value, though, this would be my rebuttal to Tim Brando. His value is that any show he goes on, and he'll go on whatever show he's asked to be on, or do whatever pregame show or postgame show or whatever, he immediately adds value to it for ESPN because people are going to talk about what Stephen A. Smith said on it.
Yeah.
That's his value. That's where he's gonna add to it.
Agreed.
Not just his own show.
Chad, CBS is going to air Duke and Arkansas after their Thanksgiving NFL game. We're going to try to hold this audience against there'll be a night Thanksgiving game for the NFL. I guess that night game's on NBC, if I'm not mistaken.
It's usually on NBC.
Yeah, so
the night game.
They'll have Duke and Arkansas in Chicago on the Thanksgiving Day, trying to keep some of that audience.
I'm going to give you.
So you have Calipari against Duke.
I'm going to give you a big preview of the ratings on the Monday morning after Thanksgiving weekend. Mm-hmm. That Arkansas Duke game will barely rate because everyone's going to be watching the NFL game that's on right up against it on NBC that night. I like that CBS is doing this. I like matchups like this. I love early season college basketball. Maui's the big attraction that week usually of Thanksgiving. Yeah. I think it's cool they're doing it. I think it's a good idea to kind of keep something going, but you can't beat the NFL, especially on Thanksgiving. They're not going to beat it. Other people are going to be watching Ole Miss, Mississippi State, likely that night. Also, the Egg Bowl will be going on against it. More people will be paying attention to that. They're not going to pay attention to November basketball, even if it is John Calipari versus Duke and Arkansas and Duke. I also have a real hard time, even contemplating in my brain what those teams will even look like in November of next year. I'm gearing up for March Madness now. Arkansas is trying to fight their way into the tournament now. Duke's going to be a 1 seed likely in the tournament right now, and they have Cooper Flag for this year only. More than likely. So I don't even know. Are they? I'm guessing they're both going to be top 15 when they play next year. I don't even know who's coming back.
I guess we kind of know
because no one might come back because they all might transfer out.
We know they're
going to bring in a bunch of
though.
other transfers.
We know we can expect they should be
right.
good. The other thing,
but you see where I'm going. It's not like I can even plan. Here's everyone coming back because I don't know who's going to transfer or transfer in or what's going to happen.
I wish this was more like home court. So Nashville just announced Nashville's going to host Kentucky against Gonzaga on December 10th at the arena. I love that. That's going to be a hard sellout. I just wish it was more home court. We've seen some of that, and I don't know. What's the atmosphere like for this game compared to what it would be like if you were playing this game at Arkansas? You know what I mean?
It'll be 80% Kentucky fans. I'm sorry. I was thinking of Kentucky Gonzaga. Duke, Arkansas, it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
In Chicago.
But
now, you play a Duke game.
I like the idea.
You play Duke games in New York City, it's a good atmosphere because there are a ton of Duke grads and Duke people in Manhattan.
Hey.
So they usually bring it when they're in New York City with fans. And I don't think there's going to be a ton of Duke fans in Chicago.
The other thing, just briefly,
Sean Shire's hometown.
Arkansas hiring Calipari did this. You're now on Thanksgiving evening playing Duke live on CBS.
Yeah.
Arkansas. So again, bravo to the Razorbacks for accomplishing what they want to do.
12 men leave, 12 men enter next year. A
Yeah.
full new team. Worlds
Swinging
of
gates.
possibilities.
Swinging gates.
No clue what either one's going to look
Learn
like.
our
but,
teams on national television.
But good for CBS. More high-profile events, the better.
Give
so
thanks
I
for the new
applaud it.
12.
Yes. It's time to give thanks for our transfer from North Texas
Yes.
that now leads us in scoring.